grew their own vegetables and flowers, mangoes and coconuts were so plentiful that they were available free. The weather was sunny, interspersed with occasional showers. Prabhupada fell ill and could not sleep more than 1.5 hours at night and 1 or 2 hours during the day. But being transcendental, he used this inability to sleep as another way to increase his writing time. Despite his emphasis on writing, however, he continued lecturing in the temple, going on morning walks, holding discussions on the beach, and daily answering his mail. Still, Hawaii was far from being like Vrindavan or Calcutta, where old friends and new admirers demanded hours of his time. Here he was mostly alone with his trained staff. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Reading from Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 10, Maharaj Rahugana meets Jai Bharat. And this text 16. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Nainam Namaskritya.
Nainam Namaskritya.
Naranchana Narottamam.
Naranchana Narottamam.
Devam Saraswatam Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatam Vyasam.
Tito Jayamudire.
Tito Jayamudire.
Nasya Prayeshu Pajeshu.
Nasya Prayeshu Padreshu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavata Chamasukhe.
Bhagavati Tamasukhe.
Bhakti Bhagavati Naishtaki.
Bhakti Bhagavati Naishtaki.
So, Kastvam Nigu, I'll read through everything today, it's not prose. So, Tvam Nigudash Charasi Vrijanam Kastvam Nigudash Charasi Vrijanam Vivashi Sutram Katamo Vaduta Vivashi Sutram Katamo Vaduta Kasyasi Kutratya Ihapi Kasmat Kasyasi Kutratya Ihapi Kasmat Shivaya Nash Chet Asi Nata Shukla Shemaya Nashtet Asinota Shukla Kastram Nigudas Charasi Tujanam Vivashi Sutram Katamo Viduta Kasyasi Kutratya Ihapi Kasmat Shemaya Naschet Asinota Shukla Kastvam Nigudash Charasi Dvijanam Vivashi Sutram Katamo Vaduta Kasyasi Kutratya Ihapi Kasmat Shemaya Naschet Asinota Shukla
Kastram Nigudash Charasi Trijanam.
Kastram Nigudash Charasi Trijanam.
Vivashi Sutram Katamo Vaduta Kasyasi Kutratya Ihapi Kasmat Shrimaya Naschedasi Nota Shukla
Kastvam nigutascharasati charasi dvijanam
Kaswami Gudasharasi Janam
Vibharshi sutram katamo vaduta
Vivashi Sutram Katamo Vaduta
Kasyasi kutratya ihapi kasmat
Kasyasi Kutratya Ihapi Kasmat
Shemaya nasched asinota shukla
Shrimaya Naschedasi Nota Shukla Kastvam Nigudasharasi Janam Vivashi Sutram Katamo Vaduta Kasyasi Kutratya Ihapi Kasmat Shemaya Naschedasi Nota Shukla
Kastvam nigutascharasi dvijanam Vibharshi sutram katamo vaduta
Kasyasi Kutratya Ihapi Kasmat Shemaya Naschedasi Nota Shukla
From it. Katvam,
Katvam
who are you? Niguta, very much covered. Charasi, you move within this world. Dvijanam, among the Brahmins or saintly persons.
Saintly persons.
Vibhashi,
Vibhashi,
you also wear. Sutram, the sacred thread, belonging to the first class Brahmins. Katama, which? Avaduta, highly elevated person. Kasya asi, who are you?
Whose are you?
Sorry. Whose disciple or son are you? Kutratya, from where? Iha api, here in this place. Kasmat, for what purpose? Shemaya, for the benefit. None of us. Chit, if. Asi, you are. Na uta, or not. Shukla, the personality of the pure mode of goodness. Kapila Dev. King Rahugana said, O Brahman, you appear to be moving in this world very much covered and unknown to others. Who are you? Are you a learned Brahman or saintly person? I see that you are wearing a sacred thread. Are you one of those exalted, liberated saints such as Dattatreya and other highly advanced learned scholars? May I ask whose disciple are you? You are. Where do you live? Why have you come to this place? Is your mission in coming here to do good for us? Please let me know who you are. Purport. Maharaj Rahugana was very anxious to receive further enlightenment in Vedic knowledge because he could understand that Jat Bharat belonged to a Brahmin family either by disciplic succession or by birth in a Brahmin dynasty. As stated in the Vedas, Tad Vigyatam, Jat Vigyanatam, Sagurum Vivapikachte. Rahugana was accepting Jat Bharat as guru, but a guru must prove his position not only by wearing a sacred thread, but by advancing knowledge in spiritual life. It is also significant that Rahugana asked Jat Bharat which family he belonged to. There are two types of families, one according to dynasty and the other according to disciplic succession. In either way, one can be enlightened. The word Shukla refers to a person in the mode of goodness. if one wants to receive spiritual knowledge, he must approach a bona fide Brahmin guru, either in the disciplic succession or in the family of learned Brahmins. Jai Shri Krishna. Raj Kalpachur Vishchan, Kripa Sindhu Priya Vacham, Patitanam Pavane Priya Vaishnavi Priya Namo. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare
Hari Hari.
So I'll try and share something on this class here, on this what's shared with us on pages of Bhagavatam. We're at the point where Jad Bharat is now, he's been called upon to be a slave for a king, to carry a palanquin. Like Maharaj Rukana was angry at him because he wouldn't carry the palanquin smoothly due to his concern for the ants in his path. And King Rahukana chastised him, but on hearing Jadbharat's response, which was completely free from any disturbance by the words of Maharaj Rahukana's that were made out of anger, he revealed himself as a servant for his last soul by his words. So this is the first time that we hear that Jad Bharat spoke, and we see by the questions that Maharaj Rukana makes here that he could recognize, had some education to be able to recognize that this may be a great spiritual self-reliant soul. So he was wondering where he came from, and to asking him these questions to confirm whether his thoughts were true. As will be explained in the next verse, that his purpose for answering the words was that he wasn't afraid of being an offender to a devotee. So he considered that he was putting his spiritual life as the most precious thing. So he was eager to, like Prabhupada says here, Maharaj Rahukana was very anxious to receive further enlightenment in Vedic knowledge. He's actually he was journeying on his way to an ashram. So it was completely surprised that he was getting some knowledge on the road to there, in a kind of not in an contemporary way, in the way that he was that was not expected, and in the form of a person that seemed the most unlikely person to give high spiritual knowledge. So by his learning he could recognize that he was Brahmin by either disciplic succession or by birth. So he was either in the line of spiritual teachers, that's one family, or by a Brahmin dynasty, so, like in the Varnashram. Not so much in Kali Yuga, but in previous ages, one would be if one was a soul that was Brahminically inclined, then they would take birth in a Brahminical family, and by a little training, their Brahminical qualities would be manifest. We can't say that's true today because this is Kali Yuga, and everyone's born a Shudra, as Bhagavatam says. So just by wearing a Brahmin thread doesn't make one a Brahmin. We see how in India the Brahminical class have been kind of almost rejected and not given the same respect as they the same level of respect as they previously had, in the sense that because people who are qualified put on the Brahmin thread and acted in un-Brahminical ways, then the people lose faith in that class. We've experienced personally how we go into India and we visit some temples, and they either refuse your entry because you're not of the particular Gotra or birth line, Brahminical birth line, or you get hounded for donations because maybe they're of more of a Vaishya mentality, taking on the position of a Brahmin, so acting according to that mentality, then they have to get some profit. So the profit, their means of profit is by getting donations. They see the temple as a place of business, so they do what they can to extract donations from the public, rather than sharing with them knowledge that will enlighten them further in their spiritual path. So this is the real mood of a Brahmin. And so here, Jadbharat saw a chance that he could enlighten, that King Rahugana was qualified to hear. So he spoke. And his words were so, King Rahugana was so shaken by his words, it shook his, he had to do a paradigm shift in his consciousness and this kind of floored him. So that he's asking questions of Jadbharat of his identity. So for a devotee like King Rahugana, although he's a bit passionate, still he considered his Krishna consciousness to be the most precious thing. So he didn't want to fear losing it by offending a devotee. So this is how the devotee is very cautious, because Krishna he uses the devotee to share this knowledge. So to him, he's the most precious. In Bhagavad Gita 18.
It's been 60 years.
Yeah, thank you. And mentioned in the previous verse, it's 1867, it says how this confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. So, Jabbar could recognize that King Urukana was someone who was worthy of giving this knowledge to, and so in 69 it says, there is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there anyone be more dear. So, and this is the one who's most dear, is one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees. And for them, pure devotional service is guaranteed. At the end, he will come back to me. So King Raghunath could recognize that he was a very special soul. So Krishna, in the form of Bhagavad Gita, he's pleading with us to, out of his compassion, to heal his message. And all of Krishna's pastimes are to attract us back to this world. He comes regularly to display his pastimes, so to awaken his spirit soul to of another reality, right, and expose the conditioned soul to help him realize that what's experiencing now, what is conceived now to be reality, is in fact illusion. And Lord Chaitanya comes to show us how to put this into practice and come to realize our real identity. The real reality is eternality, complete bliss and perfect knowledge. So the whole Parampara, this knowledge has come down through the Guru Parampara to give everyone a chance to take up this spiritual life, and the means by which in the present day is by chanting Hare Krishna, and then everything by accepting the instructions of Guru and chanting then this Maha Mantra, then everything can be revealed. So this way the Lord's mercy comes in the form of the devotee, and so it's important to give them all respect. So it said how there's a Chinese proverb that says, those who speak do not know, and those who do not speak, and those who do not know speak. So Jagbar has been silent to many people, and in the face of all sorts of insults and physical abuse, people spitting on him and so on. But he just gets from King Rahugana, he was chastised by him, but because he could recognize that there was a devotee in him there, and that he just had to make him introspective, and then which this would move him to inquire further. So this is one way a devotee shares spiritual knowledge, by causing some doubt in the other person, in their own philosophy. He doesn't have to, sometimes we're enthusiastic about Krishna consciousness, especially when we're new to it and we think it's the most precious thing, it's the most wonderful thing. How is it that nobody else is seeing that? So we might try and ram it in, but we may be giving it to people who aren't qualified. They're not ready for it yet, and on their path something else is needed for their next step. And to recognize that we're giving them due respect. But another way is by causing the other person to question their own philosophy, and listen to them, and see what their next step is. And this way that Lord Chaitanya preached, in that he would listen to people. He chose prominent members of the society, and to associate with them in some way. He even went to the point of taking Ekadanta sannyas, which is a sannyas line of the Mayavadis and personalists, so that he could be recognized by them as one of them, and in this way their ears would be open. He's not, because they considered devotees to be sentimentalists, so not worth listening to. So he took the role. He acted as one of them, to be able to have an opportunity to inject Krishna consciousness to them also. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, so you mentioned at the start how Barrett was very, like, people abused him, and but he didn't react, like just treated him with compassion and respect, and he didn't say anything. How can we also do the same if people are upsetting us? How can we also treat them with the same compassion and respect?
Well, first of all, we have to see that their spirit soul, not that body, and that their actions are under the modes of material nature. But also, we can also see it. Maybe Krishna's put me in this situation to learn something. There's a saying. Let's see if I can get this. No, there's a saying where it's the cruel teaches how to be kind. The intolerant shows how to be tolerant. And so on like that. But despite these so many teachers, these teachers, I'm not appreciative of them. So Krishna can work in mysterious ways, to teach us all sorts of things. So sometimes when we come to the Krishna consciousness movement, we're in the illusion that everything should be nice and calm and peaceful and no disturbances, like that. Whereas there's something called Krishna karma, where Krishna can use our own karma to put us in situations that to be able to, as a vehicle for us to hear something that we need to address in ourselves. If someone's really kind of given some really heavy, if we're really feeling kind of really disturbed by something, then we should tell something, go to someone and share it and ask what I'm feeling so disturbed by this, and be open to some spiritual direction. If it's so bad, then that person can speak. It's like of something offensive. Then that person can then take it to the authorities, and who can adjust the situation. Because then there's two sides. The person may need correction, and if we don't say anything, then they'll be left with that lack of feedback. And for us, we need to say something to help us see how to act in that situation, what we're meant to learn from that situation. If it's to how to perceive that situation as in a way that's Krishna conscious. So that we don't lose our Krishna consciousness because our emotions are flying, We get more, when we're disturbed, the source of disturbance can become our meditation instead of Krishna. So, to always be mindful of that we don't get caught up, and reveal our mind in confidence. It's one of the 6 loving exchanges, actually, to give prasad and receive prasadam, to offer gifts in charity and to receive charitable gifts. If someone gives us something to us, it's not that we should think, oh no, I don't deserve that, or it's someone's showing it, it's an expression of love, so we should graciously receive it, with some discrimination, of course, and also to reveal one's mind and confidence, and to hear confidentially. Right? So all these things are like very nourishing for our spiritual development, and it nurtures the love that's within our heart for our fellow beings, for our fellow devotees, and so on, to the point where we can have love for Krishna, because he's behind it all, he's staging it all, and we're being vehicles for that love when we can express it in these ways. So this is how this ISKCON, Prabhupada created this ISKCON so that these exchanges can take place. And this way it deepens our faith, and in this way deepens our sadhana, and in that we can focus more on Krishna, and rather than the distractions that come our way. So it's like a problem shared is problem halved. So just by especially for women, just being able to express themselves is a major thing. But when they have no means for that expression, then it can be detrimental. So it's very important to have someone that we have can be that we find who we can comfortably reveal our mind to. Not that they're going to share it with the rest of the community or things like this. We have to be discriminatory in who we choose. And not to make it a source of gossip or mundane talk, or someone who would treat it as that. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you. I like the point you made that someone that's cruel teaches us how to be kind, and not someone that's intolerant teaches us how to be tolerant, and also how it's important to reveal our mind and confidence. Yeah, thank you very much.
And Krishna can work in very mysterious ways. So it's always important to not allow kind of mundane, although mundane conceptions of justice. I mean, they have their place, but in a devotee's life, you could say, for example, it wasn't just that like Haridas Thakur was beaten in 21, however many it was, marketplaces. He was so high in his Krishna consciousness that he couldn't feel anything. He was so absorbed in Krishna, because his mind was so absorbed in Krishna. Krishna was taking the pain, if you like. He didn't want to see such a devotee suffer. So what to speak about our trials and tribulations are minuscule compared to that. So the more we can to gather our consciousness, not to be so disturbed that, okay, Krishna, what is it you want me to do in this situation? And we can pray that also. We can pray to the deities for direction, and they'll give their direction either in a circumstance or something we hear. We open the book and there's the answer, or we switch on a lecture, the answer comes there, or a devotee, and the form of devotee who we may approach.
And sometimes, like, we have to, learn. If Krishna wants us to learn something, we may think, I'll go away from here, I'll go somewhere else where I won't have that trouble. But Krishna will present something here exactly the same, so that we can learn the same lesson. So wherever we go, we're going to have to learn a lesson. So it doesn't matter who's from. He may use one person here and another person there, but we have to learn that lesson. So we have to go through it umpteen times until we've actually learned our lesson. So we shouldn't hide away from it or try to run away from the trouble or the problem. We have to face it and learn from it.
Yeah, that's a good point. We may repeatedly be put in situations where Krishna is trying to teach us the same lesson. We may not learn it straight away. We have to be patient with ourselves also. Like that. But and then also, as an observer, someone observing someone going through that, when someone may think, oh, why don't they just do this, or why don't they just do that, or may not be understanding what's actually going on on a deeper level. So that's why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that even if one performs the most abominable activity, if he continues in his service, he shall be considered saintly. So Krishna is showing more regard for the person who's committed that abominable act. And he's placed a warning for those who criticize. So for the onlooker, if we see someone else going through the same thing time and time again, thinking, oh, we would do better, or it's wrong to think like that. Because we don't know what's Krishna's hands doing in that situation. So you could say that Jad Bharat was being cautious that way too, that he didn't want to. He wasn't actually accusing, you see this verse, that he wasn't actually accusing him of anything. He was saying, if you think that you're a king and I'm your servant, if you say your words, these are your words, and in this regard, let me say, and if your calculation is true, like this, he wasn't exactly accusing him of anything. And if this is the situation, then there'll be no effect, because when a madman is punished, he's not cured of his madness. So he was still giving him the benefit of the doubt. There's one nice thing I've shared this before. I'll just take an opportunity to share it again. How when we're in a situation, we may be confused as to, well, why has this happened? But there's always another way of seeing things. So there always two sides to the story. So we may have our perception, but we don't know what the other person may be thinking according to their perception, which may be different. And that's why they're saying that. So it would be good for us to inquire, to not be not to be so disturbed that we can't come to that point. Or if we are, then we can again inquire confidentially. The person may be acting in such a way as the person may be causing disturbance, maybe acting in such a way that maybe he thinks it's the right thing to do to act in that way, when obviously to us it may not, it wouldn't be. So maybe they don't know, so we can take that as well. And I could always consider that maybe we don't know something, and so the person's trying to teach us something. Maybe it's a bigger picture that I don't know about. And also the person may be acting that way because they think it's their intention is correct. The person, it may not be delivered in such a way that is palatable, but the intention behind what they're saying is correct. They may want the high good, but they just may be immature in the way they deliver it. Also, they may be acting in that way in this situation, but we shouldn't let that cloud our perception of that person. It's not that person is that bad quality, that with so-called bad quality that we see in them. They've got so many other good points, fortes and so on. So, and if it doesn't make any sense at all, the situation, then we can see maybe that, well, Krishna's allowed this to happen, so, and he's always right, so he's directing this for some reason, and we can pray for him to get vision, to see, have the clarity of vision of what's happening. And we could even come to the point of just sending words of appreciation, overlooking what the so-called bad thing is. So in this way we're guarding ourselves from being impersonal or judgmental, critical, or even slanderous. So in this way it's so important to cultivate relationships with devotees, that, all kinds of relationships, and then to know we can be comfortable within our mind and conscious in confidence too. Because if we come across too forward in what we think is right, then it may put the other person into defense mode, and they won't see it as a way, as an opportunity for hearing of the message. If we see that, if that someone is causing a disturbance, then we can see, well, they're trying to tell me something maybe, but it's not making it very palatable, so we can see for ourselves then what would be the right way to do it if we were to put into practice ourselves. We can take lessons from good examples and bad examples. So it's not that we should be so sensitive that we shouldn't say anything. If we don't think we're the right person, then we can pass it on to someone more senior who can either explain to us the situation or take it further. Or just basically say there's nothing to worry about. So I've gone over time, so I'll stop there. Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Iskon Guruvant ki jai.
Jai.
Samvita Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Nitai Gaur Premanandi.